Hey guys, Dr. Sam here, and today we're going to be talking about attention and focus within our kids. Many of you might think, oh, where do we even start with that? But just kind of digging deeper into it and maybe understanding why they might be so go, 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 run, 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 nonstop, going a million miles an hour. And like you say, that focus and that attention just isn't happening. It isn't there. And no matter what you've tried to do, and like we'll get into, like, there's sticker charts, there's this, there's that, but we might even help to understand why even those things aren't working for your kiddo in this situation, and just kind of help you to get some understanding. And that's one of my great goals in life, is just to help parents and people understand themselves, understand their kiddos, how their body's working, and why certain things might be happening for them. So with attention and focus, you might notice that your kid is having issues in school. They're having issues studying. They're having issues, like, obviously keeping focus and attention on, like, said project. You might even give them like a craft or a fun thing to do, and they might do it for literally 30 seconds to maybe 2 minutes, and then they're off to the next thing. And just like, why is that? Why are they like that? How come they just can't sit there and focus? And as a parent, that can be super frustrating and exhausting, because if you're trying to maybe get some other things done, and it's not like you're not supplying your kids with fun things to do and good activities, but they just don't sit there and do them. And you want to get some other things done, and you don't want to put a screen in front of their face. It's like you're trying to give them good things to do, but they're just going 100 million miles an hour, and they just never slow down. And like you say, that's frustrating for you, but also know that it's also frustrating for them. Their little bodies are going 100 million miles, it looks like, on the outside, which it is, but actually their actions on the outside mimic the actions that are going on the inside of their body and within their body. So we're gonna dive into that and figure out what in the world is going on. Some of the other things that you parents might notice with, like, kiddos that have struggles with attention and focus is poor sleep habits, or like getting them to bed is not happening. It's a struggle just to get them into bed and to stay in bed. And they might even say, like, I've heard little kiddos say, like, I just feel like my brain can't shut off. Oh my gosh, I'm 34 years old and my brain can't shut off, but we have a million things to do as adults in our day-to-day life, and we're coming up with a list and everything in our minds. What do these kids have issues with? And like, why can't your little brain shut off? He or she doesn't have to worry about a mortgage or rent or paying bills or getting to the store or taking care of parents or taking care of work or taking care of all these other things. And so it's like, what does little Junior have issues with, and not being able to keep up with everything? So other things you'll notice is, once again, poor study habits, overwhelm and exhaustion within them as well. You can tell that they're just tired and they're run down, and they just can't quite, here, just one moment, I got my notes on back behind here, and they just can't quite settle down like themselves, and they're overwhelmed. Little kiddos shouldn't be overwhelmed right now. They should be living their little lives, doing their thing, happy, excited, happy-go-lucky, and just doing well, just thriving, versus feeling like maybe they're just surviving. And then, like, what other parents have stated is just like the endless amount of energy. We all know, and every adult has said, like, God, I just wish I could have that kind of energy. There's a certain level of, like, good, healthy energy, and then there's some that it's just like over the top. We've maybe seen these kids, like, in the grocery store or at a restaurant or somewhere, and it's like, you can just tell, it's like, holy buckets, like, that's a lot. And you look at the mom, and she's just going, she just can't even, keep up with herself, let alone this child that might just be going 1,000 miles an hour. And that's just kind of where I like to come in and show you guys where there's a good time, like, where we can start to apply a little bit of a brake pedal to that kid's endless energy, that engine that's just constantly going for them. And so, like, a lot of parents, they might just be asking themselves, why? Why my child? Why this one? We might have multiple children, and one of them has these, high energy, attention, and focus issues, and then the other ones don't. Why? What's going on? There's just like something maybe not clicking, or that they're understanding. Their first child was a breeze, and now the second one is like, holy buckets? Where did this come from? So like, we're gonna figure that out. And like, why can't they sit still? Why are they like, almost like they have like the ants in the pants? So we've all heard that. God, just sit there, you act like you got ants in your pants. But like, they don't know either. They're trying to figure it out too. And like I say, they can't focus. And then things that I've heard parents say is just that ever daunting email or phone call from their teacher, from their principal, from their daycare provider, in which your child has just, once again, here it comes. There's some parents that they're like, oh God, they're emailing again. What happened again now? And that gets frustrating. That gets exhausting. It kind of tears at your heartstrings a little bit too, because then that maybe your child is then not necessarily fitting in as they should at school. They're not maybe able to make the friends that they can make at school because their energy might just be too much for other kids. It might be that they're almost considered maybe the oddball out in situations. And that breaks my heart more than anything. It's a hard time. Hi, puppy. It's a hard time for kids now. And with an overexcited body and an overexcited little person, sometimes that's just viewed as, it's just too much. It's too this, it's too that. And they might be getting into more trouble. The teacher's having to call them out more. And so then they might even feel like they're singled out. Well, then that can also then lead into stress, more stress into this little body. And we're going to talk about stress with these kids. And it's going to lead into anxieties for them. Like, oh my gosh, like I'm a young adult and have done a lot in my life. And even at my age, there's times it's like, oh God, like, did I say something wrong? Did I not say something right? Did I do this? Did I do that? Think about being a little kid from the age of 5 to 10, that they're thinking that too. And it might be hard for them, and which is pivotal times in making friends. They're sensitive. Kids are reactive. And like, if they aren't being like taken on, or they're not being accepted or feeling like they're being accepted and they feel like they're different, it's going to cause anxiety to build up within them. And we need to nip that now so they can live a life into their teens and adult years that is free from those free from those anxieties and free from the mental health issues that can kind of come spurring up. And we'll talk about other conditions later on with like ADHD and ADD and stuff like that, that once we kind of can see these little kiddos coming in, they're just like, wow, wound tight and go, go, go. We can help slow their bodies back down so it might not, escalate into some of these other issues later on for them. My thing with this is that I would just love to help parents understand why. There are so many options out there or ideas out there, but something just still isn't working. There's still a missing link. You've maybe tried medications, you've maybe tried, talk therapy, but like no matter how many meds meds are just, so heartbreaking to put kids on, because in the way that parents see their kids change in a different fashion is almost worse than the original problem. And so you've tried different options, but something just still doesn't seem to be clicking. Something just still isn't right. And your parent gut, your mom gut, your dad gut, like this still isn't just right. And you want your kid to not survive, but to thrive, not just to survive, and to be the best kid that they can. And something's just holding them back. So, what are some of the things that you guys have seen? I'm kind of interested. I know this is a pre-recorded video, but I think you can go ahead and comment on this video. What are some of the things that you've noticed as parents that your kiddo struggles with? Comment below, comment on this video. I'd just love to get what other parents are dealing with. You can then see oh man, this person's experiencing this, so am I. Okay, cool, we're not alone. We're not alone in this. Oh man, that parent's experiencing this. That's interesting. Maybe I can kind of be aware of that now whenever I see another kiddo being like that, and maybe understand that child's parent more. And your kids are gonna have friends. It might be your friend, your kiddo's friend, that's one of these kids that has the attention and focus. And it's whenever they're over to play and on a play date, you don't lose your marbles with it. So like maybe you can understand where they're at, how come they're acting that way or lashing out in certain ways. And like I've mentioned before, and we'll get to this, the energy that you're seeing on the outside and the actions you're seeing on the inside mimic the amount of energy these kids are experiencing on the inside. And trust me, it's not comfortable for them, but that's the only way they know how to relieve that energy out of their body and those stresses out of their body. So, and what I see sometimes with kiddos, and you guys can comment like you said, are homework issues. They hate sitting down and doing homework. There's no way. Their attention and focus is like, nope, not doing it. So therefore they might be struggling in school, which then therefore the teacher's always the one emailing saying, hey, little Sally or little Jimmy just didn't get the work in again today. So their grades might be affected. Bedtime, going to bed, trying to get them in bed without a battle every night. Trying to get them to stay in bed is a battle. And like I've heard, like I've mentioned before, little kids, whenever, we ask like, why do you feel like you can't sleep at night or just go, lay in bed and lay down and go to bed? And they literally say, my brain can't shut off. That's a lot for a little kid to actually wrap their head around and say, to me anyway. And they can't sit still. They can't just calm. So like whenever you're at the grocery store, you're not even able to pay attention if you're grabbing the right or good apples, or you're grabbing strawberries that aren't molded yet and you're able to pick out the good batch, because the kids just running, they're going, they're constantly go, 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 go. So the shopping experience, even grocery shopping, is overwhelming and daunting. Going to the movie theater is maybe out of the option for you and your entire family because you have one kiddo that can't sit still that long and their focus and attention isn't there, so they're wanting to get up and go running up and down the stairs. Like that in church as well. So always on the go, go, go. They also, you'll notice they crave those fast food foods, high carbs, the chicken nuggets, the breads, the pastas. Trust me, all of these are great, but what are the foods that we reach for as adults whenever we're super stressed? Same thing. The high carbs, the high fats, the things that kind of just keep our body fueled that way. That's what we're reaching for. Whenever we're not so stressed, we're able to make better healthy, like food choices. So like you'll just notice these kids' diets are high, just like I say, the high fast food type of foods. Even though if you're eating them at home, they're still gonna be reaching for those high carbs, high sugary foods. One thing that I've noticed, like parents have said also, is like their child just isn't understood, they feel. And no, they're not. They're probably not understood. Many people are quick to, I don't want to say judge, but quick to give a reaction in a way that they are understanding the child. They're not sitting back. And I remember growing up as a kid, you'd see like someone with some kind of neurological issue going on and you're like, oh my gosh, like what's wrong with that person? But now as you get older, you realize, oh, they just might have a tic, or oh, they have Parkinson's or something like that. Same thing with these kids. Like, it's not that there's anything wrong. Their bodies are just cooking at a way faster temp and a way quicker tempo than the rest of them. And so kiddos of this, like with the attention and focus, are just not maybe going to be well understood. And they need to be given a little bit of grace because they are compounding so much energy into a little body that they just don't know how to quite handle it yet. These kids also will present just stressed out. Once again, I talk about what should they be stressed out about. I know it can be hard to be a young kid in this day and age, but once again, they're not having to worry about finances. They're not having to worry about how to put food on the table. They're not worried about doctor's visits, or they're, your parents or our parents who might be ailing or sick, and we're having to take care of parents and having to take care of our kids. They're not having to worry about this, but you can just tell overall that they're just more stressed. And to dive on to boys versus girls, there's a huge difference, but with boys, they appear to have no sense of danger. You boy moms out there know what this is like. They will run into the street. They won't look. They know they shouldn't run into the street, but they dart out into the street. They might take their bicycle and ramp it off a 5-foot drop off or something like that. They just show no signs of danger. And it's just this bull in the room, bull in a china shop, just going. So those are some of the things that you can kind of start to look at and be like, yeah, that's totally my kid. Totally my kid. okay, this is starting, okay, now someone's actually hearing me, someone's actually feeling me. So now I'm just I'm just here to kind of give you guys some light as to why your kiddo is being like one of those high stress, high focus bull in a china shop kiddo. So like I've mentioned so many times here, their actions on the outside mimic the actions on the inside of their body of what's going on. And so with the stress in a child, it can all start all the way back from their pregnancy, them in utero. Mama had a stressful pregnancy. Mom and dad might have, or the parents might have moved. They might have changed jobs. There might have been a financial issue within their family. A parent of the mother or the father might have passed away. There's another stress. Like I say, job changes, financial changes, moving, all of those things cause stress upon a person, and that then all gets transferred into that baby in utero. We might not think about that, but that baby in there is processing everything in its surrounding and in its environment. So even whatever mom is experiencing, so is the baby. And so it can start from there, and then we move into labor and delivery. If there is an intense labor and delivery process in which a baby, even coming out naturally in the natural form of delivery, that's still a stressful moment. If any of us thought about having to push through something of that size at this age, we'd be like, oh my God, I never want to do that again. So there's that stress. And then unfortunately, sometimes other means have to be used during labor and delivery, and like forceps, vacuums, C-section, all of those things cause so much more stress on the baby than what's led to believe in the medical profession, in the medical community, because it's just like, we got the baby out, mom's healthy, baby's healthy, we're great. Well, those things can, like those different manifestations within the delivery process can cause issues later on. And so how intense and stressful the labor and delivery process was also plays factors in for if that baby's system is almost locked into a stress mode and their body's not even able to adapt even from that little bit of a get-go. And so with that being said, that baby might have already been stressed, and then we get them into like their little itty bitty toddler years, and we start to factor in the 3 T's, is what I like to call them. There's thoughts, there's toxins, and there's traumas. And so as kids get into daycares, they get into making friends, they get into elementary school, we have thoughts. And so there might be some bullying going on, and with the amount of stress that these little kiddos already have within their body, bullying is going to, maybe factor in on their thought process. They're not even able to understand their own body and why they're so high strung and go. So we have the thoughts that play in. We have the traumas. Traumas could be the falls. They ride their bike, crash, bang, boom. They fall off the slide. They are wrestling around with their brothers and their sisters and stuff like that. So there's all those traumas that can go on. And then toxins. What I mean by toxins is we're not talking about major toxins, but we're talking about in toxins is the Cheetos, the Doritos, the chicken nuggets, the Gatorade, the pop. All of those things accumulate within that body. And so our part of the body, our digestive system, then takes all of those as a stress, because the body's having to pump out different hormones, different secretions in order to adapt to those foods that our body naturally doesn't care for. And so once again, all of those 3 T's, thoughts, traumas, and toxins, all factor into adding and accumulating more stress within these little kiddos. And so that's why a healthier diet is good, and just helping them bring their stress levels back down. And that's what we're going to be talking about here. With the stress. And so these kids are almost considered to have a Ferrari engine with a bicycle brakes. So they are, wow, but then they have brakes that are like, so the brakes are not working quite as well as what the gas pedal in that Ferrari engine is doing. And so whenever we talk about them and their gas pedal is just constantly pressed down and constantly stuck on, that means that stress is just constantly there. So whenever we talk, and like these kids, we are supposed to be able to adapt to stress. We just are. If we are unable to adapt to stress, that's when some issues can start to happen, like this focus and attention. But with kids, they have a way smaller threshold than we do as adults with stress. So their bodies, their thought processes, and their brain development is unable to maybe adapt to stress as well. They're unable to take it on and process it. So once again, their threshold is so much lower than ours as adults. And so once again, we go all the way back to what we talked about with how their pregnancy was with mom, how their labor and delivery was, how the 3 T's are with them. And if all those stresses just keep compounding, the second that they have something happen to them, it's almost like that trigger, that igniter within their system of a stress response kicks on quicker. We all know what that's like. We are driving along and then all of a sudden a car or someone comes blasting out in front of us. We slam on our brakes. That's our reactive, like, stress response system. It's supposed to protect us. It's our fight or flight response. That's good. We need it. Once the stress is gone, we should be able to come back to our rest and digest. Parasympathetic response is what that's called, and get back to our normal life. But whenever a person, let's say that happens to you 10 times a day, your stress response kicks on every time. And if it isn't able to adapt back down to the rest and digest response, you're gonna get a shorter fuse as well. Same thing with these kids, but take that down to a major lower level because kids just don't have that brain rationale and that thought process yet. So they are going along and like they get overwhelmed with stress. Maybe they're able to adapt to it, but eventually it just keeps compounding. It keeps overflowing. And then eventually they are literally stuck in that stress response, that sympathetic nervous system that I talk about almost every visit, every session, every video. They are stuck in that stress response. And so if that's the case, that's whenever you're gonna notice that, yeah, their energy on the inside, they're just like erupting from the inside. And that's why all these outward actions that we see of poor attention, poor focus, go, 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 can't sit still, aggravated, stressed, driving us crazy. That's because they're trying to get rid of that, all of that energy and all of that negative stuff within their body, and that's the only way that they know how. Trust me, they are craving peace within their body, calmness within their body. But I even had a mom say one time, she goes, I feel like it's out of my child's control. She goes, they tried this sticker, like every time the kid would do like homework, or they would, clean their room, or they would do this or do that, their kid would fail at it so many times because their attention and focus was so off and they couldn't do it, that then that became a negative in that child's head. But the mom was like, I know that they want to do it, but it literally just feels like it is out of my child's control. And so that was an enlightening quote from that mom that explained that to me and how she saw it in her eyes. And so ways that we need to bring the gas pedal back off and apply a brake pedal is just by initiating that parasympathetic tone within those kiddos' bodies. They are needing that parasympathetic tone because whenever our body is locked in fight or flight, think about this. We are having to, back in caveman days, but let's say we are having to run from a pack of bears. I think it's a pack of bears. I don't know. But we are having to run from that. Our body right there in that moment is not thinking about resting, digesting, our bowels functioning as it should, our bladder functioning as it should, our reproductive organs functioning as it should. Everything is going towards our lungs, our heart and circulatory system to pump out the blood quicker, to get more oxygen blood to our big, like our muscles and our arms, to get us the heck out of Dodge. So whenever a person's stuck in that fight or flight response, there's no time and there's no room for resting, There's no time for room for that, for the rest and digest, which these kids need. So many parents will see like, my kid also has issues with constipation and bedwetting issues and tummy aches and all sorts of other things. Well, no wonder, because their poor little bodies are stuck in fight or flight, and they're not saying, we don't have time to rest and digest over here. And the bedwetting, like, we haven't been paying attention to the bladder of that child forever because we're over here in high stress mode, causing all of this energy and all this, yeah, the blood to pump, the hearts to, the lungs to do their thing. That came out funny. But anyway, they're just going. So that's why they can't sit still. That's why they are running through the store. That's why they're running at the movie theater. That's why they're screaming and, you know, have no threat of danger, because they're having to get that energy off somewhere else. But that's not good, because we need that parasympathetic part of those kids' bodies that's functioning all of our other organs to allow our body to grow, to allow our body to flourish, to allow our body to be more healthy even later on. Because with these kids that stay stuck in that sympathetic fight or flight mode, later on, if that is altering hormones within their body, if that is altering their digestive system within their body and all of these other things, that's going to cause possible fertility issues later on. I know we're just talking about kids right now, but if they stay stuck in fight or flight, those hormones are going to be like, there's going to be so much more cortisol in their body that then that kind of influences and shuts down the estrogen, progesterone within those little girls. Same thing with like the digestion issues. They're going to have issues like with the constipation, which might lead into ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. They don't deserve that. They deserve and allow to have their body functioning in a way that it should. And whenever it's in that rest and digest, relaxation, immune support, growth and development phase, utilized by the parasympathetic nervous system, they're going to be so much healthier later on in life. They're not going to have any issues with all of these other things. And then even in between adulthood and all those things I talked about, like ADHD, ADD, stuff like that, then they might not need to go on the medications, and they might not need to do all these other things that just aren't working for them. So it's time to give them a chance. It's time to help them. And help you parents. This isn't easy on you parents whatsoever. And to bring down that overactive sympathetic tone and bring them back into a parasympathetic happy state is what they deserve. And not just for now to get through this crazy phase of them being wild and rambunctious and just over the top way too much. They're, like I say, they're going to be able to focus. Their attention's going to be better. Their relationships, their friendships are going to be better because their body has now slowed down and they're able to stop and actually focus on the people around them, the task at hand. They'll maybe start to enjoy like the arts and the crafts versus being like, oh, here it is for 30 seconds and bam, we're doing something different. So I know this is probably a lot, and I hope I explained it as well as I could. Come next week, we're going to have a little live webinar with this, so you guys can just hop on and start firing me questions. Let me know what I can do to help. We can get, and like with chiropractic, I guess I should explain how that can happen. With chiropractic, we find how we have scans within our office of letting us know how that kid's nervous system is functioning. It lets us know if their body is in a sympathetic tone or parasympathetic tone. It lets us know different parts of their spine that may be not moving as it should, and therefore with lack of movement, our body doesn't send out the right signals to the brain, and therefore the brain can't send those right signals back to the body. And so we have just a miscommunication there. And that's how chiropractic works, and that's how chiropractic is we're able to find within certain parts of the spine where that parasympathetic nervous system resides, which is actually way up top in the cervical spine and way down low, like in the sacrum. And that's where that system resides, and that's usually where we find misalignments within kiddos that have these attention and focus issues. And so turning on that parasympathetic nervous system, and you can Google this, it'll tell you everything. It'll tell you, like turning that parasympathetic nervous system back on, is it going to apply that brake pedal that aren't just bicycle brakes, but they're actually matching those Ferrari brakes. And maybe now we're not having a Ferrari engine with these kiddos, and maybe it's just a go-kart. But the engine then, there just isn't cooking at high RPMs constantly without that brake pedal being able to come in and calm everything back down. I will post any other articles that I think need to go along with this video But like I say, I hope I've brought light to you parents that your kiddo, there's nothing wrong with them. They just need their body just to calm back down so they can understand their body again, understand their minds, understand maybe now their brains can shut off and they can go to bed, and their body can just more melt into that parasympathetic mode. My dog just did something weird. Their body can melt back into that parasympathetic mode of rest, relaxation, growth and development, and just peace overall. And that'll bring peace to you and to your family as well. So now you can go to the movie theaters, you can go to the grocery stores and do those things that you just wish you could do, but maybe you'd be a little bit hesitant on now. So your kiddo is completely understood here in this office. There's no kiddo too wiggly or too crazy for me in this office. I shouldn't say crazy, too wild in this office. And I would be more than willing to help you guys through it. You can private message me on any of my Facebook channels or Instagram, or my email's sjlwellness@gmail.com, and the phone number is 402-432-7702. Thank you, and we'll be in touch.